A lot of time has passed since I first made this channel and my very first video in defense of Donkey Kong 64. 7 years ago, I started this video with the statement,
As time goes on, the more I come to appreciate older video games.
while this is still true, my opinion of video games also shifts over time. I made this video with two intentions in mind: to defend one of my favorite games and to spark a conversation with people online. And this community has spoken up about DK64. It's amazing how an old Donkey Kong game has us still talking about it today. And like any conversation, we might not always agree to every little detail. Those of you who have commented on this video make some great points. One of the biggest points being that I spend more time bringing down Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie over focusing solely on DK64. And while they all have flaws of their own, they're also unique and special games to us. So this part 2 video will focus on actually defending Donkey Kong 64. A large portion of comments I received, and just overall comments across the internet, are focused on how repetitive this game can be. Too many collectibles, too many Kong rotations, and too many repeated bonus barrel stages. I can get behind some of this. Beaver Bother comes up in the rotation 3 times too many, among a few other bonus barrels that repeat too often, and some of the genuine fun games only pop up once or twice. There are so many bananas, coins, fairies, and so on spread out across multiple worlds and for specific Kongs. And the tag barrel system just doesn't work. Needing to hunt down the nearest tag barrel, swap around 5 Kongs, and essentially replay a room 5 times, it's tiring. These are fair criticisms towards the game. But have we considered the year this game came out? 1999, a time when games came out kinda broken, not necessarily polished, and infrequently. A lot of my viewers are from the age range between 18 to 34. So if you watched my first video, and if you're watching this video, there's a solid chance you were a kid when this game came out, just like me. Think back to the late 90s and early 2000s. Early Zelda games, early Mario games, and just look at early Pokemon games, for example. Gen 1 is flat out busted. But the series has become significantly more polished as each game is released. Recent titles not included. We've been sort of spoiled by how well video games are made today, and how often they're released. And while a new game is nearly impossible to perfect on release day due to bugs and glitches, there's the double-edged sword of patching up the game and making adjustments through updates. But at least improvements can be made to an already existing game. It's really a wild time to be playing games. Just look at how many video games have been added to Steam alone. In 2022, that number is nearly 11,000. I don't think I can even name 1,000 games, let alone 11,000. And while this graph only reveals games listed on Steam as early as 2004, it's clear to see that the number of new games being released back then isn't quite the mass we're seeing today in the 2020s. So what does all this have to do with the Banana Bunch? Well, think about it. 1999 and 2000. When we were kids, we weren't playing brand new video games every couple of weeks. We didn't have Nintendo Directs or E3s to eagerly showcase the many upcoming games for the year. And as kids, we're certainly not paying for many video games. I'd save up my allowance for weeks just to get a $10 Bionicle or whatever they were priced at. Buying a new video game was a rarity. Parents and other adults don't like giving their kids video games. Games were considered bad at the time. So when you picked up a new video game, that was the game you were playing for months, potentially all year. And when you're a kid, the simple interaction of moving around a character in a colorful world is the most entertaining experience. You're in control. You're making Donkey Kong jump and swim. You collected a gold banana. They were simpler times, but they were also simpler expectations out of a game. This rabbit hole is all to say that the comment on this game being too much is pretty silly. There's too much game? My brother and Arceus, games today don't have enough. Look at the Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire remakes. I love these games. They're great remakes of the original games that I already love, and the added new features I also love. But man, it's a shame that they didn't provide the Battle Frontier postgame that we were all anticipating. An experience that repeatedly kicked my butt after sinking hours into forming a team, only for me to sink even more hours into it because I was having a good time and didn't care how long it took. Donkey Kong 64 is a big game. It can be a big pill to swallow, sometimes. But other times when I'm playing this game, I'm hungry for that pill. That analogy doesn't make sense, but roll with it. My original full playthrough of DK64 is somewhere around 60 to 70 hours, and I honestly find that so fascinating when I consider my playtime with other games. I average about 20 hours in a typical dull experience of a Pokemon game. If I'm looking to complete a Pokedex and go all out in a specific Pokemon game, that's going to be roughly 100 hours, ballpark. Breath of the Wild took like 125 hours of my life. That's all the shrines and enough Korok seeds to get all the inventory space available. Notice how I didn't say all of the Korok seeds. But that's also the sweet thing about video games. You don't have to do every side quest. You don't have to do every little thing. You don't have to fill out the entire Pokedex in Sun and Moon, the games with the highest dex number. And with Donkey Kong 64, you don't have to collect every banana, golden banana, coin, fairy, whatever. You could get away with doing the bare minimum to beat the story and still have a great time doing it. The game is a collectathon, but that's still by choice. Taking on the 201% collectible challenge is like a badge of honor, like Bobby Hill taking on the 72 on stake, or Mordecai taking on the excellent challenge. Collecting it all might not be easy, but it feels damn good to receive that metaphoric badge. We've seen how busted this game is, more and more each year. If the tag barrel was entirely replaced with a single rotation of the D-pad, allowing an instant change of pace, this game would be a bigger hit. Or even if every Kong could collect any banana, coin, or golden banana, you'd have to admit, that's a huge upgrade, right? It's not the most brilliant design, anyone with eyes can see that. Considering how busted and limited the game and console are, it's less of a surprise now. If we were to see this game go through a remake, it would open the door to making these kinds of quality of life changes. Like a handful of challenges in this game are absolutely brutal. Beaver Bother, Mechanical Fish, Diddy Kong's Cabin, DK Arcade Round 2. Imagine the relief that would come with a patched up Beaver Bother. To think there's an alternative timeline when we all talk about how much fun Beaver Bother is instead of the hell we live with now. I still think a challenge should exist. Games shouldn't handhold or hand-feed the player a victory. That being said, it shouldn't take a painstaking amount of hours to complete a challenge. A fair balance between tough but fun. And due to the game's behavior with lag, running it on an emulator or Wii U makes some of these challenges actually impossible. Like genuinely, literally impossible. A remake is so badly needed. I will always stand by this game and support its uniqueness, its bold design, its colorful worlds and playful characters. When I think Donkey Kong, I think this game. Not Donkey Kong Country, not Donkey Kong in the Mario Party or Mario Kart games, but this one. The characters, both playable and non-playable, are colorful, fun, expressive, and creative. The worlds we get to run around and swim in are large, memorable, unique, and reward the player for exploring those hidden, tucked-away areas. The game continues to stay interesting and engaging with new upgrades per world, spread out or shared with the 5 Kongs. The music is unforgettable, and it's tied beautifully with each world and each character. Receiving 201 golden bananas fails to get stale to me because of the catchy and entertaining song and dance. And while the game is focusing on collecting a bunch of stuff to save DK Isle, I love these several moments to help save other critters in need, such as the Banana Fairy, Mermaid, Seal, and of course, K-Lumsy. A similar feeling while playing Super Mario Sunshine. Doing good deeds for others makes you feel good too. I know DK64 isn't perfect, and its time, it was a bigger deal and received higher praise. But time can really reveal problems, or have us realizing problems that existed all along. Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, while also being flawed, are fantastic games. But there's something about Donkey Kong 64 that stands out from the rest. I'll always see these Kongs like family and look back on the memories it's created. If you made it this far, I just want to say thank you for watching my videos. This game has stirred up a lot of different opinions over the years, and I love that it still gets talked about decades later. I'm open to hearing your thoughts below in the comments, either about this game or my opinion. Just keep it classy. Now, Cranky, take us to the fridge.
Walnuts, peanuts, pineapple smells, grapes, melons, oranges, and coconut shells. Oh yeah, walnuts.